Wow, wow, wow. Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday. And it has been a hot Monday. Woo! I mean, smoking hot out there. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Women's Trailer Park Show. And tonight I have one of my favorites here, Dr. Rosemary Edwards. I'm so excited about her. Y'all know who she is. She used to be the Travis County Precinct Chairman for 6 years. And I hope she don't mind me saying this, but I always called her my GOP mama. I loved her then, and I love her even more now. But we've got so much to talk about. I'm less one person, and that's Adela Fernandez. Adela, we love you, and we'll see you very soon. She's my co-host, so she'll be on here with me. She'll be back again. Anyway, so tonight is going to be just a free-flow night, and Dr. Rosemary is going to just share some things with her heart, and we're going to just talk to the public and just kind of see what we can do about getting y'all riled up for voting in November.
Well, thank you, Marilyn and Adela. Our hearts go out to you, and we hope you're going to be back next week. So the girls' show is Marilyn and Rosemary tonight, and I'm just excited to talk about our local candidates, Marilyn. I think that there is a lot of excitement and frustration and just a lot of emotions about the November election nationally, and we're just bombarded with that every day.
Yes.
But I think that what we need to do is look at the candidates that really will affect us directly locally. And sometimes it's hard for them to get out their message because there's so much, other stuff going on. So I just wanted to touch on some of our fabulous candidates and talk about their name and tell you who they are, what they're running for, and what their attributes are. Because we have, the Republicans have the best slate of candidates that I think we've ever had. And the first two I'm going to talk about are running county-wide races. Wow. So anyone who votes in Travis County will be able to vote for these two. We have a fabulous candidate for DA, Maura Phelan. She actually worked in the DA's office for 12 years. She's a very experienced attorney. She has trial litigation experience, and not only in Travis County, but in Williamson County and Harris County. So she comes with a lot of great legal experience, but she's also been very active in the community. She's president of her Park Springs Neighborhood Association. She started a golden retriever rescue, and this was because when she was a prosecutor, they had to close down a puppy mill, and she tells a story that overnight she was responsible for about 100 dogs. Now, getting this rescue started was a matter of necessity. It wasn't. She loves dogs, and actually she was a veterinarian major at A&M, so she knows about dogs and animals as well as love them. But she turned a crisis into an opportunity for doing rescue. And so the model that she set up for this golden retriever rescue has been duplicated across the United States. They have quite a wonderful operation that is a self-sustaining organization, but they draw from people who are willing to foster dogs. And so I think that's one small example of how Maura is a problem solver. She has worked in various things besides law, but she would be incredible as a DA in Travis County. Awesome. We really do need a whole new culture there. We need integrity, and she is the woman to do it, Maura Phelan. And awesome. Joe Martinez is also a countywide in a countywide race. He's running for sheriff, and Joe was born in East Austin. He has been a member of the community in East Austin many years. He and his family left for a while, and he was in law enforcement in Michigan, but he came back, and he has served in many areas of law enforcement, from policeman to investigator. Now he's a private investigator. He's worked with the DA's office, and actually he and Maura knew each other from past legal work together. Excuse me, but he's bilingual, and his opponent, even though she has a Hispanic surname, is not bilingual, and I think that's a very good attribute for the job. He has the respect of people in the community. He's a man of integrity, and I think that's very important in the sheriff's office. Certainly in any law enforcement, you need someone with good character, and both these are outstanding individuals. And you know, as we know, it's hard to be a conservative in Travis County and a Republican, and to run for office, you really, you know, you're having to go against the headwind here in the community. So my hat's off to both Maura Phelan and Joe Martinez. They are very strong candidates, and I would just like for the listeners to check them out. They've both got websites. You can go on and find out more information about them. But I think we need to give them our support. They would indeed be great to have them on the show too. I think that Maura's been here, but maybe Joe would need to come on,
which would be really good.
Yeah,
you know, and this is so. I love what you're doing, because we've got to, you know, people have to know who these candidates are, and it is so true that we are so stuck on the grandiose, which is the national, and we forget about the local that really, you know, dictates
our day-to-day life will really matter.
We need to know. So it's the strangest thing is that when most people get to the voting booth, they don't even know who these persons are. You know, so you haven't even had a chance to, you know, take a look at them to see what their beliefs are. You know, are you all on the same page?
Right.
You know, is it the closest to what it is your morals and values are? So I'm so glad that you're bringing up this information, and we hope that each and every person that's listening will go out there really and find out more information about these candidates that we're talking about.
Right. Well, and I want to bring up a point too, that there might be people who would say, well, I just always vote straight ticket. I just vote straight Democrat, straight Republican. But even if you did vote straight Democrat and you check out Maura or Joe or another candidate and say, well, I've never really voted for Republican, but I really like this person, you know. In fact, both of these candidates are telling me that they're hearing that a lot when they're going to community events and they're talking to people, and they go, oh, you know, but you know. So the way you can do that, you can vote straight ticket, but then you go down your ballot and you find the name that you want to vote for that isn't a part of the straight ticket ballot, and then you can override that with individual votes.
Yes.
And the way you know that that has worked is when you come up to the end of your ballot, the summary sheet that shows you how you voted, then you just make sure that that red square shows up at the right names, so you can, what they call, split your ticket.
Split your ticket.
And so you don't have to just vote the party line. If there's a Republican that sounds good to you, shares your beliefs and your values, then you can split your ticket, and we highly encourage people to consider to do that.
That is very true.
Yeah.
That is very true, because you don't want to miss an opportunity.
Right.
You know, especially for, I don't want to say the wrong person to get in office, but I will say that.
There are some wrong people getting office.
There are some wrong people getting in office because we just straight down the line, and you don't even know who it is you're voting for. But if you know who it is, if you begin to study that candidate, and like I said, see if they share your same values and morals, you know, if they're the closest to what it is that you believe in, then yes, you can split your ticket. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's nobody's business how you vote.
Nobody's going to know who
it is
exactly.
or who you think would be the best person to represent that office and to represent you as a constituent too.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. And we've got some other good candidates too. I know you've had Gerald Daugherty on here. He was actually had an opponent in the primary, and he did come out. He won the primary, so he'll be on the ballot in November. He is in place 3 on the county commissioner's court, and we certainly want to support him in his reelection. Gerald has done a really good job for us, but he also needs some support, because when you're on this 4-member or 4 places and the judge, in order for you to get a motion seconded, and for something to move forward, Gerald has a lot of great ideas, but if you've got 3 other people there that are not going to be wanting to discuss what you want to bring forward, it dies for the lack of second. And we're happy to say that there is a person in place 3, Pat McCord. He is running for the second Republican. I mean, there's no Republican spot on there, but Gerald Daugherty is the Republican on the board. But often, if he has a strong opinion about a fiscal matter or something that wants to, maybe save more money than the Democrats want to save.
Oh,
He won't get a
yes.
second to his motion. So we really want people to realize that there is a second Republican running on the County Commissioners
is a
Court,
good thing.
place one. And he brings a lot of experience in business and also government. He's a very, very good candidate. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of Pat McCord. So if we could have Gerald in place 3 and Pat in place 1, then I think we'd have a more balanced
Yes.
court.
Yes.
The judge, Sarah Eckhart, is a Democrat, but we want to have people who will come and ask questions about how we can have better government,
Yes.
how we can, save money, keep more tax
Oh,
dollars
yes.
in your pocket.
Yes.
So Pat McCord is running for place 1, and we want you to support Gerald Doherty in place 3. So that's the County Commissioners Court.
And it's amazing. The people we want transparency, and the government will say that they will give us transparency, but all the time
When it
that
comes
hasn't
right
happened.
down to it,
We
sometimes you
haven't
don't
had
really
any
know what's going on.
transparency. I mean, I won't even touch city government, but it's amazing when the people say we want this. How is it that we end up getting something totally different than what it is that we're saying this is what we want? And
Well, I think that it comes down to having really a two-party system, and you have someone who has, one set of approach about how you solve things, and you've got to have a counterbalance to that. I think the
That's
County
true.
Commissioners Court is one prime example of that, and Austin needs some balance. I'll
Very
just say
much
we
so.
need some balance.
Well, with all the new breed, all the new blood that is coming to this city, to this state, we need some new balance because it's still leaning a little bit. In past times, the Commissioners Court, they hadn't always been physically responsible, especially I'm talking about dealing with the taxes and not only that, just other issues, for instance, with monies being allocated towards abortions and things like that. When people come and they share their heart about this and that, it's like, I don't want to say it didn't matter, but it feels like it didn't matter at all.
Yeah, I know what you're
know.
talking about. Yeah. Well, we're hoping that we will get some balance on the County Commissioners Court with Pat McCord, and certainly keeping Gerald Doherty, who's still fighting the good fight for us on Commissioners Court.
that
But
is good
we have
news.
several House races too, and Paul Workman, I know he's been here. He also had a primary opponent, and he came out winning the primary, so he's going to be on the November ballot. Paul's done a good job for us. We
Yes.
want to keep him there. And then we've got 2 first-time candidates that I'm especially excited about. Gabriel Neela is running for House District 47, and Gabriel,
Which is awesome.
I don't know if, well, of course you
He's-
know Gabriel
he's glad
because he
because
was
he's our
here.
co-host.
He
He's one of
was
our co-hosts.
had been on the show and part of this show, but of course he couldn't do that being in a candidate position. But Gabriel is out there in the community. He is presenting himself very well because he knows the issues. He's really listening to constituents. He is a teacher. He is. How much more in the community can you be? He teaches at Del Valle. He is a fabulous candidate, and I think that especially for the good people in House District 47, they need some representation, which they have not had.
Wow, that is very true.
Oh, absolutely, Pokey, come join us.
District 46.
Yeah,
Next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday
get to the.
at 6:30. They can hear me.
Okay.
And we don't have a slate for it, do we? 6:30 at Millennium Youth Center, right down the road from the studio. Will be it's a town hall.
Oh, great! Yeah.
Damn, I can't
Yeah,
remember the name of it.
What's your language?
Lord, I can't remember the name of it.
Well, you got the date and the time, so
Yeah,
we'll watch
yeah,
out for
it's,
it.
just look on any Facebook page, Trailer Park Show, or James Ritter, or Travis County Republicans.
Great.
Gabriel Neela's
6:30.
page.
Okay.
Gabriel Neela, just go to Gabriel Neela,
Yeah.
and you'll see it there.
Great.
It's 2 days away.
I think
Awesome.
like our ladies were talking about Gabriel that we push this in.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's great. Well, he's taking the initiative to do some things like that, and I think that shows the kind of.
Crossing my fingers and praying that he does win because he's a very good man.
Yes.
And he has good values and he has good ideas for the office that somebody else.
He does.
You better come up here and talk too, Mom.
Well,
Still want to get on camera.
well, and that is so good because District 46 hadn't had that type of representation that it needs. I mean, you're talking about.
Well, before
So-
you keep on, a lot of these candidates y'all are talking about will be on this show starting in September. Let me see, we got some other stuff for the rest of this month. But anyway,
Great.
stay tuned.
Great.
Stay tuned.
Well, and there's a third House District candidate, Ceasar Ruiz, and he is in House District 50,
Okay.
and he is running against a woman who won a special election last year, who got to serve a portion of the term, and Mark Strama had been the representative for many years. But Ceasar, he is a veteran, he is a family man, he has very strong Christian principles, and he is like Gabriel. He is getting out there in the community and listening to people, going to the schools. He had actually been a teacher for a short while, and the representatives, especially up in the Pflugerville area, just feel like they have not been represented with the person who beat Strama. So I think these two first-time candidates are they're an example of young men who are stepping up, taking the responsibility on themselves to say, enough is enough. We need to have someone who really understands the community that they're representing, someone who really is dedicated to everyone who is in the community and trying to problem solve. So watch out for Gabriel Neela and Ceasar Ruiz, because they're working very hard.
That is so awesome.
So I'm excited about them.
So am I. I went into an establishment 2 weeks ago and ran smack dab into Gabriel. Out there on the job. I mean, he was
Campaigning
just
and-
yes,
yeah.
he was. He was out there, and my, when I tell you, people were gathered around him. Ran into David Nally too. It was so awesome to see those two
Up in
out
Manor,
there.
was it in Manor? Yeah. Right.
It was so good. I'm like, oh, go on, Gabriel. So unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to speak to him because he was highly occupied. But it was
Well,
so good.
he's there's some people I think that can just kind of be natural politicians, like the lady I'm sitting next to here, helped her run her good campaign. But, I've worked with a lot of candidates, and I've worked with a lot of people who say they'll want to run, and even in spite of sometimes I say, well, I don't think you ought to run. They did. I won't call any names. But I think Gabriel and Ceasar, particularly because they're first-time candidates, and Maura and Joe, but they really love people, and you can't fake that. You just can't. You can't.
It's real.
Maybe you could try to say the right words, but for someone to, I'm going to be at the coffee shop, and I want to, buy you a cup of coffee, and I want to hear what you want to say. It takes a certain type of personality to be able to do that and enjoy it.
Yes.
And do it with an honesty and with a enthusiasm where you really do want to hear people and what they're saying. And I mean, to a person, I've got one more candidate to talk about too. These are good people who want to serve and come with a servant's heart, because I think that's one of the things that we've lost in government. That I don't know. You say you want to help people, but once you get in there, you're not that available to people, or, you kind of running with a different crowd or something. I don't know what happens to people, but I've seen it happen to people before, and I know that from my experience with all of these candidates, they truly come from a servant's heart, and they realize that the battle is hard in Travis County. It is, in some ways you kind of think the deck is stacked against you, because it typically goes Democrat so often and so much. But I really I admire them very much for stepping up at this difficult time and saying that I'm going to take it on. I'm going to take it on. I'm doing the best I can do. They're trying to raise money. They're trying to do the things that can leverage their whatever they've been able to raise the best they can. So we're really in the home stretch now. They've been working on this since last November. I mean, it's almost a whole year process, and it's very difficult. It doesn't come naturally to a lot of people, but I've seen each one of these grow in the role and get more comfortable with going up and shaking hands with somebody. They don't know who you are, and you got to We talked the other day about the elevator speech. You know, how sometimes you only have just a very short period of time to tell somebody who you are and why you want them to vote for you. And you know that because you've been a candidate. And so you kind of fine-tune that message, and you get to the point where literally if you're on an elevator in between floors and you've got 4 people in there, put out your hand, tell them who you are. You may not have your name tag on. Find out, you know, if they're voting age, especially. But that's the kind of thing that this kind of retail politics and local politics, saying you ran into him, you know, you're shopping, you're out and about. It's like, I know him, but he's out there campaigning right now. He's meeting people he didn't know. And I tell you, you just can't train people to do this stuff. No. You can't send them to a class. You either have it or you don't. You either really like people. You can't really fake that, you know. You can, you know, it's something that I think has to come from deep within, and where you really have a servant's heart that says, I want to serve you. You know, I understand that the role that I play in whatever position it is truly to make this community a better place for everyone. I mean, even for people who didn't vote for me, of course. Exactly. But it's to, you know, be responsible with your tax dollars, and to try to, you know, be inclusive about solutions. But we only have so much money, so not everybody's going to get what they want. And how do you negotiate that? How do you listen? How do you problem solve? And realize that it's up to me to ultimately, you know, serve the greater good, and stay honest with your constituents. So it's a tough job, and I just, my hat goes off to each one of these, because stepping up in Travis County, stepping up in a pretty difficult time here, just with the county party, they are moving ahead. No one is try to throw in the towel and say, I don't want to do this, it's too hard. No, it's hard. It is hard. And you come out, win or lose, a different person, because you've had to dig really deep in your what you believe in and what you stand for, because you have to explain that to people. You have to tell them. And so I'm delighted to be able to kind of walk hand in hand with a lot of them. I've tried to make some calls and help them raise some money, and visit with them often. And so the retired county chair is choosing to be involved in many of these races, just as an advisor and that kind of thing. And it's been very, very fulfilling to me, because I really think that we just have the best slate of candidates that we've ever had.
Which is awesome.
Yeah,
Which is awesome.
And we've got one more too. Deke Pierce he's running for Constable Place 2, and he's running against the incumbent. And Deke will bring integrity into the constable's office. He's law enforcement. He is a veteran. He is just a really likable guy and a fun guy. And I think he will bring the kind of, like I said, integrity and transparency and an honor to this office that is greatly needed.
Which is awesome.
So I'm hoping that you'll get as many of these, you know, on the show as you can, because, you know, the proof is with the person being able to represent themselves. I mean, I can say a lot of great things about them, but when you get them here and you hear them and you see how much of a difference they really can make in Travis County, I think it's very exciting. I think this is going to be a very exciting election. I think that, kind of good news, bad news, there's been so much of, you know, bring it with all the primary conflicts and that kind of thing. I think there's been a lot of, certainly a very emotional time, but I think that ultimately it's going to be drawing more people to vote. And I think some people are, you know, maybe getting off their
Sopas.
You know, collective whatever it is to get off and decide you want to vote, which means that many first-time voters, you don't have any voter history, so sometimes you don't know how that's going to turn out. And I think that probably played in a lot in our primary election.
Yes.
But I think that especially locally, people that will maybe register to vote for the first time, I don't know, they might go down the ballot and just vote for one or two people they know. We certainly wouldn't encourage people to vote for people they don't know, but they might investigate a party and read the platform.
Yes.
And the platform, the ink's not even quite dry on the platforms because they were finally finalized at the state convention. So, I mean, I would recommend if you are, I'm not quite sure, I've kind of been an independent, I really haven't decided too much about the politics. I kind of know maybe who I'm going to vote for president, but these local ones, going online and reading the platforms of the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, I think, can be very illuminating, very different. And these are hard-fought platform planks where the grassroots bring those ideas and they ultimately bubble up to the top that get agreed in the final platform. So I would just suggest that if you really did want to investigate what do people who call themselves Republicans, what do they stand for? That platform is really what they stand for. They should stand for, and the Democrats as well. So it would be instructive, I think, if you're considering voting straight ticket, that you look at that and what does that straight ticket vote really mean, and what are the principles upon which this particular party stand. So I'm here again. I'm thrilled to be here with you guys again. It's been a while since I was here, but I think more than that we have such great candidates that, I mean, 201 is working so hard, and certainly I think deserve your support because they are not resting. they are not resting at all. And they kind of feel like that. Oh my gosh, the summer's so hot, and the block walking is so hard, but they are not giving up. They're working really hard for us.
That's awesome.
And it's contagious too,
which is really good.
Yeah,
which is really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. And it is something. you use the word servanthood, and I'm telling you that is that's a key word that I think any candidate should first of all have in their heart to be a servant, and that is something that we are so missing in our daily officials. Is the servanthood, and I think we need to get back to the basics. And if we could do such a thing, then it could be for the betterment of the people, of everyone, and not just and that's not just a one-sided thing. Also, it is rough when you talk about getting out there and when you don't have much money, even as much money as your opponent have. But you have to get back to that thing of why you're running. That passion has got to begin to burn that fuel on the inside of you like never before. And really, you got to get to the point to where money doesn't matter.
Well, it's been proven
matters,
that
but
you can trump having an opponent that does have more money. If you've got people with passion, you've got an organization, you've got people behind you, you can outwork them. And the way I look at it, you might have a lot of small donations. I mean, no donations too small, but if you have, one person to write you a big check, well, that person really only has one vote.
Yes.
So if you have people that are willing to give you $10 or $25 or the accumulated amount will certainly help. But I think more than that, when you've got individuals that say, $10 is all I can afford, and for me, it's like the story about the widow that puts the penny in the miter box. For her that was a lot of money, and maybe for $10 for somebody might be a lot more difficult than a $500 check. But I think that for candidates who really do come from the right place, I think, from a servant's heart that says, okay, I'm just going to leave it out. I'm going to put it all out there, and I'm going to work. No one's going to outwork me. You might raise more money, but you're not going to outwork me. I'm going to show up at events. I'm going to I'm going to be out there in the community. I'm going to do the very best I can to listen to you and know what kind of representatives you want, who you want to represent you. But also, as you're growing as a candidate, you do, if you really are in the right place, I think, as wanting to serve them, you do understand what the issues are in your community, and that's where our state legislators come.
Yes.
If there's some wrong that needs to be made right, then help me write a bill about
Yes,
that.
yes.
Help us get this to the point where we can really make some changes.
Yes.
And I know that, well, Gabriel and Ceasar both are working with people that, you come to it and you see your perspective of the district, but then you've got a lot of other people that have had different experiences. So you're the representative. So what are these other people concerned about?
Yes.
And if it seems to be an issue that would affect a lot of other people, then you go about the business of writing a bill, getting other people to support it. And that's what they're there for, is to write bills. Well, they're really there to pass the budget. That's all they have to do. But they do write a lot of bills.
Yes.
And of course, it's a complicated process sometimes. But I think that's maybe especially why these constituents that have only had Democrats for years and years and years, why not try a Republican and see how that works? Are you totally happy with your Democrat? Maybe not. Let's maybe try something else.
And Gabriel has a very different district now. With all the gentrification that's went on
does.
in District 46, and
And the Commissioner's Court does too. Pat McCord was talking about how so much of the place one has changed. And you're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
changed a
amazing.
lot.
East Side has changed. It's
It
not
has.
the East Side we used to know it to be.
Some is good and not so good.
Yeah,
No,
well,
it's
you got your high rises and you got your dollars, but
in a
it's
place of
amazing. He's got
transition.
a more, I don't know if I want to use the word diverse, but it is a more
Yeah,
diverse,
right. Community.
it is.
Different needs. Right.
Different needs. You're absolutely right. So he's in a very, I don't want to
Unique
say
position, I
unique.
think. I think
Yes.
so too. Yeah.
He really is. Because
Well,
you've got
and
some old ones, but you got the new ones too.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that the woman who has served for, oh my gosh, at least 2 decades, this last session showed up for very few votes. And if I don't happen to live in that district, but I would be upset just because she didn't even show up to vote. So, if you're not fit to serve, then resign.
Exactly.
Okay, and get somebody else who will be there and show up.
Right.
And the good people in HD 47 have not been adequately represented. I don't think so. Gabriel
No.
is showing that he will be out there with the people. He will. He's not going to be hiding somewhere. He is not going to be making excuses. And I think another characteristic that I see in these candidates too is courage. I mean,
Yes.
it takes a lot of courage to, like I said, go out and meet people, and of course that comes more naturally with some people than others. So you do have to kind of get your bearings about, okay, I walk in this room and I can't just kind of stand here. No, I have to go and meet these
That's
people. I have to
right.
shake their hand and I have to, listen to them and look in their face, and it's not an act. You have to really like people, I think, to
Yeah.
do that. And that's why I'm saying that if you didn't really like people, you probably shouldn't be in politics.
You're absolutely right.
But I think there's some who are
Because-
and he end up getting elected and don't like people.
And it has happened, hasn't it?
But you can't. I don't think in the long run you can fake it. And they have good hearts and certainly the ability to do the job. Of course, anybody, the first time you do a job, there's a lot to learn. There's a
Yes.
lot, learning curve and everything else. But I don't know how much time you've spent down in the legislature, but if they got in on an IQ test, it might look a lot different down there. So, the more I'm around there, it's like, shoot, there are a lot of people who could do this job.
Well, and what really bothers me is these incumbents. And you can tell the ones where they have no fire, they have no
I
passion.
kind of lost it.
They are just there in a position. I'm not sure if it's just a power thing, but I really think that they maybe want to consider just getting out and letting a new breed come in. Other people don't run because they're still running. And what really bothers me, and I'm feeling get upset about it. Okay, one of the things is that for you to go down there every single time and file to run for office and you don't do nothing else about it, you don't put a sign up, you don't have a sticker nowhere, that bothers me. It really does bother me, and really it should bother the constituents in that community, because you're just voting straight ticket, but you didn't see anything. There was no effort put into that but paying a filing fee. Yeah, I'm running again. You need to move over and let somebody else come in there, and that's going to make a difference in that district. It's just not fair, and that bothers me. And I really wish that even as people on the same ticket, they understand. If you think in your mind that you would really want to run, but that person is still there, but they're not doing nothing, why not run against them?
Well, and some of the most, let me see, how do I say this? Some of the most cantankerous sometimes. I mean, a lot of the most heated battles are in the primary because and some people say, oh, why are they so volatile? Well, if you look at how the process works and the boundary lines are drawn, you can pretty much guarantee what party is probably going to win in the way it's drawn. I don't think this is too much of inside baseball stuff, but every 10 years when the census comes around, then you look and see, have any of these areas grown or not grown? So you reassess the districts and then redraw the boundaries. But the people who are currently serving get to draw those boundaries, and so it's kind of a self-serving process to kind of make sure that you kind of keep your job.
Oh,
so
yes.
That's what happens. And so what it would be that a Republican or a Democrat district, more than likely the way the boundary line is drawn would be a Republican or Democrat district. Well, then if you want to serve, then challenge that Republican to get in there, or challenge that Democrat. So I think that's what you're saying, is that if somebody simply is so comfortable in their position, and they may be in the same party, then make them accountable. And I think, unfortunately, that's what happens too often in Austin. And I think the Republicans have a tendency to kind of, I call it Stockholm syndrome. It's like, oh, well, I'll never win, so why should I run? The Democrats are always going to win, so why should we even challenge them? Well, that's a surefire way of never winning anything, if you just always had that attitude. So when I was county chair for 6 years, that was one of the things that I did have to fight. And, I can certainly understand that if it's 80% Democrat, why would you want to kill yourself to run? Well, you make them spend a little money and be a little accountable and have to put a website up and get out there and
Come
talk.
on.
Absolutely.
Do something.
Yes. And so in your case, you fought the good fight. You fought it valiantly, block walked, got out there, and your opponent, who of course is still serving in the House, he had to get out there a little bit more than he planned to. So ultimately, I think the constituents are served either way, whether you're victorious or not. I really wish you had been, but we need better government, and the way better government comes about is to have the competition. Competition is good.
Competition is
We'd
good.
like to have it to be a friendly competition and for people to be civil about it. But either way, I think the courageous people that step up and say, I am willing to step out of my comfort zone. I'm willing to do this with full knowledge that, I may not be victorious, but I'm doing it with a servant's heart. I'm doing it for the right reasons, and I'm going to serve. I'm going to serve whether I win or not, because you do meet people, and you find out that I never would have met these people if I hadn't run for office.
Exactly.
And who knows? You never know what the path might lead to, but I back again to the servant's heart. When people, I think, do it for the right reasons, they really honestly want to serve, and win or lose, they will continue to be involved in the community. They're just not going to go away after it's over, but you would be a lot better citizen simply by saying, I stood up here, I made my positions known, I listened to people, I may have really some things that my constituents or potential constituents would be concerned about. Maybe I didn't even know that was a problem, And maybe they've even tried to talk to the person who's in office and he didn't listen to him. But if I get to serve, I will champion your cause.
Yes.
But I think once a person is run for office, you're never the same.
No,
You know,
you're not.
You wouldn't be right here right now if you hadn't run for office. So.
No. And the thing I was thinking about Gabriel and Caesar, the thing of it too is that, and Mara, the thing of it is that you're absolutely right. If you don't win the race, you still won it. Because you stuck it out to the end.
Absolutely.
As you said a moment ago, you fought the good fight. And that's all you can do is do your best.
Absolutely.
And most of the people that I met when I was campaigning, they never knew who my opponent was.
They just knew they were going to vote for you.
Who unfortunately just voted straight ticket for this person each and every time.
They didn't know they
We
were.
talked earlier about splitting the ticket. And so my thing was that it's none of my business how you vote. I just need you to find my name on the ballot. So if you normally vote this particular way, street ticket, you won't find my name. But if you split your ticket, you'll find my name on that ballot.
Exactly.
And so that's the main thing what Dr. Edwards was talking about a moment ago. When you begin to get to know who these candidates are so that you can have a better knowledge and wisdom of who it is that you're going to
You've heard
place
their
your vote
name,
for
you've looked
and
them up,
make
yeah,
your vote count. It is so important to make your vote count. And don't ever feel like my vote don't mean anything. Yes, your vote does, because that was one less vote we would have had to win this election for something good
Sometimes
to
they're very
happen.
close, yeah.
And so it's just don't ever not vote. You have to vote. It doesn't matter who you think, especially when it comes to this national election that we're dealing with. I've heard so many people say, I'm not voting. How can you not vote? You have to vote, but they never think about the local
Right, the
elections.
down ballot.
It is so important. You need to vote. You need to
Exactly.
know who it is you need to vote for.
Absolutely.
That is what's important.
Well, I have a little anecdotal story. It's not really anecdotal. It happened to me, but I won my first race as precinct chair before I was county chair by one vote.
That's amazing.
One write-in vote. So
Wow.
it was back when in 2004 when they allowed write-in votes, and that was also when we first went to the voting machine. So everybody was a little nervous about, I don't know about this automatic thing or what, they'd never worked it before. So I was the very first person at my polling place to make sure that I could go back and tell the people that I'd campaigned for about how to do this. And I knew my name would be a write-in, but I thought my name would be the write-in. But no, when you punch write-in, it was blank. You had to write in with this E-slate, turn it around to an R, press the R, turn it around to an O. And I've got a kind of long name.
That took some work.
So
They were
anyway,
determined.
that one vote that I got that put me over the top, I will go to my grave talking about every vote. Absolutely does
Every
count.
vote
That's the way I
counts.
stumbled into my own political career. So
That's amazing.
yes, it
That
does
is
matter.
every vote counts.
Yes.
And in the time and days that we're living in, we have to make our election sure. We have to make our vote sure, and we have to stand up behind what it is we believe in, and that person that has those same values. It makes so much. That's really what
Makes a
makes
big
the world go
difference.
round, because
Absolutely.
when you wouldn't want it to go around the opposite
Don't
away,
vote for
which
somebody
is-
that's not going to agree with you. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
don't get a couch potato.
That's right. Or somebody who's just been in office and they just
Taking up space.
and they got tired of it long ago, but
Long
they have
ago.
not been challenged. So
Yeah.
I think that the primary elections are, while no one, just human nature, you don't want to be having to run if you don't have to run, but competition in anything is good, so that you don't get too lackadaisical, too comfortable, and so I don't really have to talk to my constituents about what they want to talk about. So when you've got to defend your position, whether it's from within your own party or the other party, I think it does make us stronger candidates. Because when I ran for county chair, then once I served as precinct chair, then I didn't know that I was going to have any competition the first time that I ran. And 2 days before the the
Cut off
final
the-
thing, I did have an opponent, and oh, that's this is human nature. No, I didn't want to have an opponent, but I did. And so that's what I tell a lot of the candidates that, like, oh, I don't want to have an opponent, but it makes you stronger.
Yes, it does.
It makes you
Yes, it
have to
does.
say, okay, well then you tell me yours when what like, okay, well I wouldn't have done that, and so. Even though I didn't the other two times, it did something in hindsight that at the time I thought I don't want to have to do all of this, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and what puts you in a situation where you have got to articulate clearly and convincingly how you want to serve and how you want to be in that role. Everybody benefits. Everybody does. So.
That's amazing. You know what? Here's the thing. This is my view on this thing. It's like, if you don't have an opponent and you're running a race, I want it to be in such a way that nobody wants to run against you because you're doing such a fabulous job.
Exactly.
And that was yours. That was you.
Well.
That was you.
Well,
Because no, why? It's like, why? If it's working, why?
exactly.
you know?
Exactly. Well, in a perfect world, I think that would be the way it would be. But once you get in office, unless you are really every day reminding yourself, why am I here? And
Yes.
what, we need to get better. We need
Yes.
every day do something that is
Yes.
going to be better. And if you don't, do this job like you're sitting on the edge of your chair, then somebody should challenge you.
Exactly.
But if you do that, and then your constituents feel comfortable with that, then by golly, that's why when we talk about term limits, it's it really has never gone anywhere, because it's like, well, that's great for that one over there because I don't think he's doing a good job, but mine is great. He's been there, a long time, but he does a great job. So why should we just inadvertently say, okay, we got to have term limits now, and then you've got to go, but he was doing a good job. So,
Yes. It makes
it's a little bit more complicated than
Yes.
that. And there are some good people who have served a long time and continue to serve well, and they get challenged from time to time, but then if they are continuing to get reelected, then a majority of their constituents approve of the job that they're doing, so they get to do the
Whether
job.
they know what the job is or not.
Well, but I mean, I can think of some of our congressmen that have served a long time, and then they'll have opponents every now and then they will, of course, get out and campaign, but they turn out they're victorious from the primary opponents that they have. So give them another 2 years. That's the way it works.
Wouldn't it be something when the constituents would really challenge these officials,
Yeah.
especially on the things that you indicated you were running on your ticket. And like you were saying, each day should be one of those days when you go in that office and say, did we accomplish this? Have we accomplished that? How are we going to do this? You have to keep that plan, burning, and it's for the people. But if you don't, people will know it was for you.
Yeah.
You ran for you, for yourself,
Yeah.
So it's so amazing.
Well, public service is not for the faint of heart.
No,
it's
it's not.
very hard, and
Can I ask a question along them lines? Maybe if you could talk to some about the importance of working the polls, being a poll worker. Or
that's a
poll
great
watcher.
point. That's a great point. Yeah.
Time left?
Yeah. Well, when I was the county chair for 6 years, that's one of the very important statutory responsibilities of a county chair, to run the primary and to also get people who work the polls as election judges, alternate judges, clerks. We have an early ballot board. There are many ways of participating, and Republicans and Democrats equally have to participate in all of these. And we have a judge that overall represents the Republican Party when they're bringing the tapes in for off the JVCs to count at the central processing and everything. And so it takes a lot of people to make these elections work. And Pokey, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we need a lot of people to work in November to man the polling places. It started early voting, and it just doesn't happen. Somebody just doesn't come down and do it for us. We have to do this, and we have to make it.
Democrats have no problem getting people, and we do.
Well, actually, that's not the case. No, both parties have a challenge in getting enough voters, and often when it comes right down to the last 2 weeks, we're scrambling to get people to work the polls. And in fact, I worked the May runoff because it said that I put me on the desperate list. Can we call me if you're really desperate? Well, I got a call and said, well, we're desperate, Rosemary. We need you. So I worked. They were down to the desperate list, but they were 2 weeks before. The Republicans had filled more of our slots than the Democrats had. So, I mean, it's not a competition necessarily. But I mean, we had more people that at that snapshot in time would work. We still had something like 70 vacancies, and the Democrats had 115 or something. I mean, there was still a lot that were unfilled. And so what happens is you have to consolidate some, but at that point it was too late to consolidate any precincts that hadn't been pre-agreed to for the runoff. And then sometimes you just end up having a kind of a skeleton crew that you're doing 2 or 3 jobs. I mean, a judge might be working the JVC, or, having to consolidate some roles in the polling place itself. So to viewers who, I mean, these are paid jobs. The elections division is always looking for good people. Have to be a registered voter, but they're important jobs. And for anybody who either does early voting or same day voting, those people that are sitting there, they've had training, they get paid, they've had to get up early that morning to get there, they stay, they're long days, but they can accommodate some that for they will split the day or divide it up for smaller time shifts for clerks. And sometimes the clerk job is one of the first things to do, because there's just 1 or 2 simple tasks that you have to do, and you don't have to get there to set up. But starting as a clerk, you can see what the process is about and how it works, and then maybe work a half a day the first time, and then after that, if you feel comfortable with it, then you can sign up to do it again. Awesome. And I mean, you do get paid, and it's a nice way to meet new people. And you're serving the public. Yes. I mean, that's hear the servant's heart. I mean, you're not volunteering specifically, but ultimately you're helping your neighbors. You're helping your community, and we need to make sure that the elections are legal and fair, and everything is done well. Yes. So we really have no one to blame except ourselves if it doesn't work out, because we all need to pitch in and make it work. And thanks for mentioning that, because it's a very important thing to do.
That it really is. As you were talking about that, I was on my mind was, I was thinking about, so what is the law regarding showing your identification?
Well, I think that the judge who was reviewing the Texas voter ID, there was a question about whether it was possibly disenfranchising some voters, and I don't think the second shoe has fallen on the whole thing. I think they may ask for another ruling before November, but it's getting awfully close. And I haven't read thoroughly the whole thing, but I think that what they were saying was that if someone was able to show that they live at a place, that you would just accept that as an identifying piece of documentation. Now, that scares me to death, but I think that there might be some more litigation before November, but we'll just see. I bet it was just making it a little bit looser so that you could have an exception to the photo voter ID. But it has worked well in Texas. It has. We didn't have any glitches the first time, and we've been through, I think, maybe 3 elections since then, or they've been a number of smaller elections. But all of the concerns that people would say that that people might not feel like that they could vote has not been the case, and people who couldn't afford to get the card, they could go to DPS and get it. It was free, and so we really had implemented it very well, and people are accustomed to that. I mean, you can't fly on an airplane, you can't cash a check. I mean the one plastic in my billfold, other than a credit card, I guess, is practically worn out. You got to take that ID out all the time.
I'm like,
you just
that
get
is
used
such
to it.
hogwash. Why would you say that? Nobody could. Some people can't afford. I mean, that is the lamest excuse.
Well, I think that
really.
individuals who are adults and who function in the world have to take some responsibility. And we don't want to disenfranchise anyone, but the reality is, if you're functioning in society and you're eating and you're going places,
Yes,
you have had to be responsible and do that. So,
of course. Well, in wrapping it up, share with the viewers, Rosemary, just some of the tip things that you were talking about this evening.
About 2 minutes.
okay. Well, just to summarize, the Republicans have a wonderful slate of candidates. I'm excited about them. The countywide races, the 2 that I mentioned first, Maura Phelan for Travis County DA and Joe Martinez. Anybody in Travis County can vote for these 2. The other ones that I talked about in County Commissioner's Court, they have different places, and so that would be a smaller portion of Travis County, place 1 and place 3. Gerald Darty in place 3, who is the incumbent, and Pat McCord, who is in place 1. And then we've got 3 House races that are outstanding candidates, with Paul Workman being reelected.
We're going to run out of time.
I've run out of time.
Cannot get a debate with Maura Phelan and Margaret Moore. She won't answer. I sent my second email to Sally Hernandez for sheriff's debates. I don't know if that's going to happen, but next week we'll be back. We got them coming up in September. I know we have some school board debates coming up, and that's always important, you have to admit.
Very much.
Yes.
Next week is City Council Member De La Garza, but it'll be only about the budget, no politics. I mean, campaigning, I'm sorry. A week after that will be politics, but no campaigning. But after that, there'll be candidates coming on. And we're certainly glad that we could have Dr. Rosemary Edwards here with us.
My pleasure.
And we will try to get some websites up for all these candidates. There are a great bunch of candidates.
Great.
And you're going to get to
Thank
see
you so
a lot
much.
of them right here.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Great seeing you,
awesome.
Marilyn.
Oh, you too. I'm so glad you were here today.
With 15 seconds. Say bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Come
Thanks
back
for
next
joining.
week.
That's right. Come back next Monday.
Next week, and be down there at Town Hall of Time for Unity. Bye-bye, folks.
Bye-bye.